This podcast contains explicit language.
Bafangu!
This episode of Dorking Out is brought to you by
The letter D. You can't spell divorce without D. Expensive because they're worth every penny.
Houston, flight is go.
Mila, let's go. SPM, safety contact.
From Assignment X, thesoniashow.com, and Amalgamated Storytelling, this is the Dorking Out Show, the podcast for people who love stories from movies, TV, books, podcasts, and everywhere else. Welcome to episode 96 of Dorking Out. This is the Big Trouble in Little China Deep Dorking Edition. With me today is my co-host, professional writer, and author of The Sonia Show, Sonia Mansfield.
Hey there.
Hey, you.
With me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker and nerd author, Christopher Allen Smith. In this episode, we're going to do a deep dorking out of 1986's Big Trouble in Little China, directed by John Carpenter and starring Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dun, and Victor Wong. Joining us is BFF of the show, Peter Brown, associate editor of Assignment X. Thank you for joining us, Master P.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming,
So
man.
we reached out to you and asked if there was a movie you'd love to talk about, a movie that's overrated or underappreciated or just a movie we super love. And you immediately responded with Big Trouble in Little China.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Why? Well, maybe first, give us like a one-liner description of this movie, and then
Sure.
maybe you could tell us, why did you pick this movie?
Yes.
Sure, no problem.
Why?
Happy to. So the Big Trouble in Little China is the story about a truck driver named Jack Burton who fumbles his way into a street war in San Francisco's Chinatown where some magical and supernatural things are happening. That's like kind of the one-liner that I would say. Why I love it is because this movie is just great. It's actually one of my top 5 movies that of all time for me. Really, it is just because it's so much fun. It's got a lot of action. It's got plenty of comedy. It's got dialogue that you remember and you can quote, and it's got an improv in his prime, Kurt Russell. There's monsters. There's magicians. There's sorcerers. There's martial artists. It's got a super hot Kim Cattrall, the mannequin Kim Cattrall, not the Sex and the City Kim Cattrall.
Yeah, she's super hot.
Yeah, and so there's just like so much to love about this movie. It's just a lot of fun, and that's why I like it so much. Just because Kurt Russell plays the character Jack Burton, who's this just truck driver. And he just is so over the top with it. It's like you just never see him kind of play that kind of character. Really, all the other kind of 80s movies that he's in, he's like the tough guy and like the super rough guy. Like
this is like peak Kurt Russell hair too.
Yeah,
like his hair is like
from
just
New York. Like Kurt Russell is like this really tough, like loner, badass guy. But like in like this movie, he tries to be like he puts on this facade that he's like this really tough guy, but he really isn't. He's like he just is like, what the hell is going on? And he like doesn't understand what's happening, and he tries to like his best to put on his best face, but he's overwhelmed by like all the crazy stuff that's going on. And so
I haven't seen this movie since I saw it in the theater, so I watched it to prep for this, and I kept thinking, this is like a movie where they made the sidekick the lead and the hero is the sidekick.
Yeah.
It is a very weird movie.
Yeah. And it is.
Like he's not the hero. Jack Burton is not the hero. He's too stupid to be the hero.
No, he is. Yeah, he's way too dumb, and he fumbles around and always makes mistakes. So he's not the hero. Wang Chi who is the hero, who is his little buddy who he loses the bet to, and he's like, and he goes, "Oh, I'll make the money, and you just have to come with me down down to Chinatown." And then that's when everything starts going on, and we find out that actually Wang Chi is actually pretty good fighter, and he can actually somehow fly through the air too. He's got some sort of supernatural abilities. So yeah, like he's definitely the hero, whereas Jack Burton just kind of, he gets bumped in the head and he gets knocked out. Somebody falls on him and he can't get up.
It's so funny. Smith, what did you think?
I did see this movie in the theater. I love Kurt Russell, and I love cult movies because I think that's one of the famous things about this movie is that it was, one of the peak John Carpenter years. He makes this movie. It underperforms like crazy.
Oh, big time.
It was a really relatively famous bomb. I think it started the later stage of his career where he was not getting all of the fantastic offers that he once got. But since then, it's developed into this weird, fun cult movie that I don't know if movies like this really become cult movies anymore. It seems to be either really awful movies gain a certain kind of status, or a good chunk of an audience will find a movie relatively early and then go on to love it. The problem for me with cult movies is if you're not in the cult, if for some reason the thing that everybody is grabbing onto and loving so much doesn't happen to grab you, it's like a bus that's just zipping by in traffic, or a semi truck, if you will, in this case. And this,
or the Pork Chop Express,
right? Pork Chop Express, yeah.
The Pork Chop Express, the inexplicable name for Kurt Russell's truck in this movie. But anyway,
that makes perfect sense. He's transporting pigs.
Oh, all right. I love the idea of John Carpenter really going balls to the wall. I love the idea of trying to make this phantasmagoric martial arts movie. I love the idea of Kurt Russell in total swagger, clueless mode. It's a lot of fun, but there was something about this, all the elements coming together where they just connected in such a way to kind of keep me at arm's length, and I can't figure out why. Because you're right, there was that in the final fight, there were a lot of really great sight gags where he shoots the machine gun up in the air to get the fight rolling, but then it hits the stucco comes down and knocks him out, and he's out for the first 5 minutes of the fight. Or he kills this bad guy and spends a third of the final battle with this dead body on top of him as he's trying to shove him off.
That's right.
Which is all of this stuff is so great, but there was a lot of things, and I think this is what did it for me is I have an irritation about things that I think they used to do more in the 70s, 80s, and 90s in maybe not the best written movies, is every once in a while you'd have an exasperated hero kind of stop in the middle of the mayhem and say, "Somebody please tell me what the hell is going on." And then some secondary character explains it to them, so they're really explaining it to the audience. And that just drives me up the wall. And it seemed like every third scene in this movie was that. They'd thrown so much stuff at the wall that Kurt Russell, a lot of the times, is saying, "What the hell is going on? Who the hell is that? How the hell is this working? That guy just did something crazy." Even though I've seen 25 crazy things by this point in the movie, I'm still going to be shocked that I'm seeing these crazy things and monsters.
Now, to be fair, I found those scenes very helpful because there is a lot going on, and I'm a dum-dum who needed it explained to me.
I think he's just over his head, a lot of times. It's just he doesn't know any of this stuff. He's just this dumb truck driver, and he gets, he fumbles his way into this whole thing where he has no idea that this is where any supernatural or sorcerers or hundreds of year old sorcerers are trying to bring back their youth. And so every once in a while, he's just like, "Oh, come on," like whatever ridiculous thing happens next.
Right.
So, I think that's just part of his character, is that he just doesn't understand and can't comprehend it because he is just so over his head.
I'm sure you're right. And the weird thing is, when you're talking about a movie where you have to suspend your disbelief to the point that you ignore demons, ignore a guy that rides on lightning, ignore, guys that can fly around and do martial arts.
Yeah.
When you're ignoring when you're ignoring a demon emperor that is trying to get the blood of a green-eyed woman so he could return to his youth.
When you put it like that, it sounds a little crazy. But
no, it is crazy. That's the thing. Is the fact that I am applying these thoughts to it is kind of ridiculous, because it's movies like this are supposed to be loud, crazy, ridiculous fun, and I'm beginning to wonder if I just have a John Carpenter problem.
Oh. Do you not like his other movies?
What about The Thing? You're not a fan of The Thing?
I am a fan of The Thing, but outside of that, I don't know if there's one John Carpenter movie that I love through and through. I like Escape from New York. Halloween, I think I might have made the mistake where I saw it after a couple of Friday the 13th movies. So it was kind of like, yeah, I get it. A slasher movie. Got it. You know what I mean? I think this is just a situation where this is a great cult movie that people really love. And if it plucks your cord, I envy you, because it didn't pluck mine. So I'm kind of set. I feel a little bit like I'm watching a party through a window that looks like a lot of fun and that I was invited to, but for some reason I just didn't go. But I'm still watching it. It could be me.
So I do want to say, I'm pretty sure you really like Starman.
Oh yeah, but it's 25 years since I've seen Starman. But you might be right. I got to watch Starman again.
It's interesting too, because John Carpenter has done so many films that have kind of developed into cult movies. He did They Live, which is a huge cult movie with Roddy Piper with the glasses.
Dark Star.
I do remember liking They Live. You know what? Maybe I don't have a John Carpenter problem. Maybe
he did The Fog, which is well known as one of those early kind of genre horror movies that was very atmospheric. What else did he do? Yeah, Halloween, obviously.
He did Halloween. He did Assault on Precinct 13. People like that one a lot.
Which I haven't seen that one. You know what? I guess I don't have a John Carpenter problem. I just didn't vibe with this movie, I guess. Then I tried to blow it up into a bigger theory of John Carpenter, and
it's funny because I think that if this movie was released today, I think that it would have it would probably do about as well as it did back in '86.
Right.
I don't think it would do very well at all. And in fact, I think it probably people today wouldn't appreciate it. Even I wouldn't say it's underappreciated in terms of an '80s movie. But I mean, when people talk about '80s movies, it's they talk about other movies like kind of the comedy dramas like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, that kind of stuff. They don't, or something from Arnold Schwarzenegger. They don't talk about Big Trouble from Little China, which they should, because it's a quintessential 80s movie and it has those same elements that those other movies have. It just wasn't successful, and it didn't have kind of maybe that big kind of budget that the other ones did.
I feel like this movie wasn't made to be seen in a theater. It was almost like it was made to be like a movie that you watch at home on your TV with your friends, and you drink beer or smoke pot or whatever it is you're into.
Right.
And maybe it works best that way. I know I saw this movie in the theater. I can't recall if I liked it really or not. I think I did, but I feel like it's a movie that if it played in a theater now and I went and saw it, I would be like, well, there's $15 I'm not going to get back, or what, it would seem really weird to me. But I think on a small screen, at home, it plays, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's light, it's not work to watch it. It's a little confusing at times, but they have those moments where they stop and explain it all to you. So that's fine. I think that, I don't think it would make any more money today than it did back then. So I looked it up because I wanted to know how much it made, and apparently it cost about $25 million to make, and it made $11 million.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
And that they rushed it to the theater because The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy was coming out, and it was very similar theme.
Right.
Very similar thing to The Golden Child. Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Which, you know,
I don't think is a movie we'll be talking about on this show. Because I don't think it's underrated or overrated.
it's just,
I think it's perfectly rated.
Right. Well, you know, it's funny. I think part of it is I did do a little Wikipedia dive earlier today after watching the movie. And maybe it's just that I'm much more interested, or I would be much more interested in the original conception of this movie, which is
the Western?
The Western version of this, which sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
Where it's just like you have these Chinese kung fu magicians with a bunch of cowboys kind of in the mix in like turn of the century San Francisco, and just, oh man, that sounds like fun.
So when I heard the Western thing, I was like, well, that explains why Kurt Russell kind of sounds like John Wayne in this movie.
Yeah.
Right.
He's very, very boisterous, very bravado.
Yeah.
Right.
But he just never backs it up.
Yeah. Which is
not that he's a wimp or afraid. He just can't. He just is too dumb and too uncoordinated.
Right. No, definitely.
Which is interesting because like most characters in these types of movies are usually fall in line with, they're the athletic type, they're the badass hero. You know, that's why I think maybe I like this movie a lot too, is just because the main character just isn't the normal type of action hero that you find in a lot of movies. He's not like a Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not even Kurt Russell in Kurt Russell's prime. He's this fumbling guy who can't get anything really done. He makes so many mistakes, but still ends up like kind of winning the day.
Right.
So
what do you think the kind of underperformance of this movie explains why Kurt Russell never really popped to the level of a Sylvester Stallone or an Arnold Schwarzenegger? Because when you see him on screen, every time I see him on screen, it's kind of like, why isn't this guy working more? He's fantastic. He's great. I love him. Why isn't he around that much? And it
works all the time now. Is that what you're?
Well, no, he does, but he never had. You know, he could have been the Mel Gibson character in Lethal Weapon. He could have been, you know, like a major action star through the 80s and 90s. He's got the swagger, he's got the charisma, he's got the look, he's got the whatever, but he just never popped. And
he did do a lot of movies in the 80s, you know. I mean, a lot of John Carpenter movies in the 80s. He was in The Thing, and he was in Big Trouble in Little China. He was in, Escape from New York. I mean, all those are Carpenter movies that are pretty cult and movies that are found an audience for sure. So, I mean, he did do a lot of stuff in the 80s. I think he did a lot in the 90s too. I mean, he was in Stargate, I think.
That's
right?
True. Yeah, that's true. He was in Stargate. He was in Breakdown, which was fantastic.
Tombstone. He was in Tombstone.
Right. Yeah. He was also in Soldier. Maybe that explains some of this. I
don't know about that one, but yeah.
That's right. That's me taking a shot at Soldier.
I mean, I said this after we saw The Hateful Eight. I think Kurt Russell is a national treasure.
I do.
He should be in everything. Like, I think he's awesome.
I agree 100%.
And I agree with you when you say, like, you know, he's got the charisma and he pops. Like, he is one of those actors that when you see him, you're like, oh, sweet, Kurt Russell's in this.
Exactly.
Like, you know that, like, you're going to get something good, even if it's a shit movie. You know, even if it's Sky High or
Furious. Hey, you take that back. Sky High is a hell of a lot of fun. Sky High is fantastic. That's good fun. Just because of that, Sonia Mansfield, I'm going to make us talk about Sky High on one of these deep dorking
even if it's Tequila Sunrise.
Even if it's just...
Wait a minute. He was recently... Where was he that I just saw him recently? It was a Marvel movie. It was
He was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's right. He was the bad guy. He ended up being the main bad guy.
Fate of the Furious?
Like, maybe last year, Smith made me see The Fate of the Furious. That movie's a piece of shit. And I was really mad at Smith for making me see it. But at least I got like 5 or 10 minutes of Kurt Russell, and I was like, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah. No.
Sonya really has a thing for Kurt Russell.
She does. So Kim Cattrall.
I do.
Yes.
Speaking of another 80s persona.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I was going to bring her up, so I'm glad you brought her up.
What? It seems to me she should have had that Sharon Stone kind of thing. Why don't you think, do you think this is a movie that kind of messed with her a little bit and she never quite took off? The way
that's an interesting point, actually. That it could be. I think she did Mannequin around that time too, which right. I always call Mannequin Kim Cattrall because that's when she was, very very good looking. And then later in life, she just didn't age well, in my opinion. Right, that's my opinion. That's mine.
She did Big Trouble in Little China, and then like right after it is Mannequin.
Oh, okay. Is that how? Okay, so I think maybe that is the case, that this having that on her resume may not have been the best thing for her, because I'm not sure. I don't think Mannequin did that well either. I don't remember. But
I think Mannequin was a hit. Okay. I'd have to look it up, but I think it was.
Yeah.
And it certainly had that terrible song that was on the radio all the time.
Yeah, but I think it's another case of one of this 80s actresses who doesn't really take off. They're in a couple of things and then they kind of fade away, and then they have their career kind of bounces back when they do something interesting, like I guess when she did Sex and the City. Obviously, that kind of got her career back on track.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when she shows up in the movie, and I was like, "Oh, it's Kim Cattrall." Like I know her from Sex and the City, but I was remembering like, oh, this came out in 86. I was like, she was mainly like the girl from like Police Academy or Porky's.
Right.
Right. So I was like, this movie's like kind of a weird choice for her. But then, and I said that to my husband, I was like, hey, like, before this, she did like Police Academy. It's kind of weird that she's in this movie. And my husband's like, I don't know her from that. He's like, all I know is she was in Star Trek, the motion picture.
No, she was in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
Yeah, but she wasn't.
Oh,
she,
that's right.
was
she was.
But wasn't she in Star Trek, the motion picture too?
I don't believe so. No.
Oh,
that's
he doesn't remember. He only remembers her from Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
No, that's
the bald lady is in Star Trek 1.
Right. I do. Right. There is someone else.
And then who's in number 2? Is it Kirstie Alley?
Kirstie Alley, who apparently didn't want to come back to Star Trek, which is one of the reasons that Robin Cook, I think, played the same character in Star Trek 3, and then Kim Cattrall played a very similar character in Star Trek 6.
Got it.
Which would have been more interesting.
Because I was like, oh, to me, she's Samantha from Sex and the City. Right. And my husband's like, no. She played like a Vulcan in Star Trek.
That's right.
Dork.
So I do want to point somebody that I think had a fantastic run around this time. I'm not going to say they lived up to their potential, but I think we can all be jealous of the 1980s career of Al Leong. He is a stuntman and actor. You would definitely recognize him if you saw him. But listen to this guy's career back then. So he goes from, hold on, let me get back down here. He goes from, oh, son of a bitch, sorry.
You're right. I do recognize him. Yes, I just looked him up. Yep.
Big Trouble in Little China in 86. In 87, he plays a bad guy in Lethal Weapon. In 88, he plays one of the terrorists in Die Hard.
Wait, what's his name?
Al Leong.
Okay.
Then in 89, he plays Genghis Khan in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I'm not sure you could pick an actor in the 80s that had a more interesting and fun 4 years.
Okay.
You look at him and you're like, oh yeah, I recognize.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
I know that guy.
If you don't, funny. Oh, what were you gonna say, Peter?
Oh, I was just like, he looks the same, and like the little mug they have on him on IMDb is exactly how he is in Big Trouble in Little China.
Exactly,
exactly the same.
Now, if you don't remember who this guy is, and you're wondering, Al Leong, if you remember the terrorist that gets in position in Die Hard in the Nakatomi Tower, and he's getting ready for the police to come in, and he's getting ready to mow them all down with his machine gun. And then he's just kind of sitting there waiting, and there's like a sales counter. He's behind a sales counter that he's behind for cover, and he gets kind of bored and kind of hungry, so he just starts eating candy bars. Right. As he waits to mow down LAPD officers. That's the guy we're talking about. So anyway, I believe he's the guy that tortured Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon. But anyway, so sorry.
And in Big Trouble in Little China, he's the one guy who has the two hatchets, and he's very, very quick. He's very quick martial arts with him. He likes moving them all around and chopping people and slicing and dicing them.
So what do you guys think of Dennis Dunn, who plays Wang?
You know what? I think that might have been a little bit of my problem, and maybe I'm just dumb. It's definitely possible I'm dumb.
Yes.
In that, when you watch it, he's definitely Kurt, and this is kind of, it says this in the Wikipedia entry, Kurt Russell is the sidekick, and John Carpenter has talked about how this is a movie told from the point of view of the sidekick. And Dennis Dunn is very cool, very competent, very fun, but I don't know if it's the way that John Carpenter shot him or dealt with the character, but he never really seemed like the hero of the movie. And I think that was a little bit of a drawback, because I think he talked like, Jack, he's got to come and help us out because nobody can solve a problem like Jack. And he's kind of building Jack up in this weird way that I just thought I thought there was a lot of humor that was left on the table. He was fine. He was good.
Respectfully disagree, but that's fine.
But no, you talk about this, because I've already talked about how this movie passed me by. So you probably have a better.
Wang Chi, who he plays, who's like we talked about, is pretty much the main action hero here.
Right.
Like he's great in a lot of ways, because he has a lot of levity to his character. He talks about gearing up for the fight and what he's got to do, and he's his love interest is one that Lo Pan takes, so he's got to win her back. And I don't think it's necessarily that he's trying to bring Jack Burton along because he thinks he can do it. I think he just needs numbers, and he just needs as many people as he can to help him out. And Jack just happens to be there, and he knows Jack, and he knows that at least he's capable of being somebody who can fire a gun. So I think that's why he kind of takes him along. It's not that he's trying to dupe him or anything. He just needs people. And as evidence as why they go to Egg Shin and they try to get his help. Egg Shin then knows the street gang, the good street gang that's been fighting. So I think it's just a matter of his character just trying to do anything to get his girl back. And he does that by recruiting people as much as he can to do that.
That is a fun thing about this movie. A strange thing about this movie, where there seemed to be this run of movies in the 80s where the heroes never called the cops. Where this guy's girlfriend gets kidnapped from San Francisco International Airport, and it's like, oh, well, shit, what are we gonna do? We've got to get my girl back, and I guess we just have to go and fight a street gang. Because that's what we're doing. There's not one police detective. I guess there's no FBI in San Francisco. Kidnapping's a federal crime. There's nothing. It's just, this is one of those movies where a call
Smith,
to the...
I live here.
Uh-huh.
I live here, and it is a sanctuary city, so...
Oh, well, it is. It's a sanctuary for something. So what was your guys' favorite part of this movie? Would you say? What's the thing that really sticks with you of why you love it so much, Peter?
I think that my favorite part is probably when they first see the supernatural stuff going on during the street fight, where the blue and the yellow red and yellow guys start fighting each other, and then all of a sudden they turn around and there's these three supernatural characters that just come and start just destroying all of them, regardless of whether they're red or yellow. And from there on, I just think it's just a really fun movie. But that's the kind of scene that sticks with me the most, I think.
What about
I
you,
really
Cindy?
like the scene when he goes into the brothel or whatever. When Jack Burton goes into the brothel or whatever that thing is, and he's got the glasses on and the
Right.
suit, and
Right.
he's trying to pretend, and he's so bad at it.
Right.
Like, and it just that made me laugh really hard. Like, it was probably the part that made me laugh the hardest. It was like
Or when they
how
walk into
how bad he was at like acting
Yeah.
at all. Like
Or-
he couldn't
yeah.
act like a normal human being, basically. Or it was just funny.
Or when they walk in and they're like supposedly telephone repairman, and instead of like
Right.
tools, he's just carrying a phone,
Right.
and like that's all he's got. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here to fix the phone," and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go this way. Oh, you want us to go there? Oh, we're gonna go this way. Yeah, this
Right.
way." And they just walk through the
I'm
door.
obviously the phone repairman. I've got
Yeah.
my own phone.
He's carrying the phone. That's right. There's no tools. He's just got a phone, and he's gonna fix it.
Right.
What was your favorite part, Smith? Who doesn't? The man
No,
who
I-
doesn't
I-
like me?
No, it's not that I don't like the movie. It's just that it didn't hit me the way I think it hits other people. I did like him. That whole phone routine I thought was a lot of fun. I think part of it is, I'll be honest, is the action directing just didn't do it for me.
Mhm.
Like, it was a lot of really cut up moments of action, and there wasn't like a really nice flow or anything to it.
Yeah.
It's like they built the action sequences in the edit room rather than the way they shot it. And maybe that's not the way that they did it, but it just felt very segmented and didn't, there wasn't a lot of smooth flow, great choreography of action like a Spielberg would have done in this era.
So I read that the part that Dennis Dunn plays, Wang Chi, was offered to Jackie Chan.
Oh, interesting.
Holy smokes.
And I'm like, that would have been great. Like, I'm wondering, would that have improved the action sequences? Like, or was
Oh,
Jackie
no
Chan
doubt.
not a big enough star then to kind of have any kind of sway on how things went? Because he is very particular about his action sequences. I feel like they're always really well done. Like, they're always really fun to watch, and
Right.
like there's a lot of physical comedy in them. Not all of them, but in
Right.
some of them.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that would have changed
Oh.
that. Apparently he turned it down because he wanted to concentrate on like his Hong Kong movies, and he made Police Story. And I don't know if you've seen Police Story or any
Yes.
of the other Police Story movies.
Holy
They're
smokes.
fucking awesome.
Yes.
So he made
Yes.
not the Big Trouble in Little China isn't fun, but the Police Story movies are awesome.
You know
Yeah,
what?
and the drunken fighter one too is fun too.
Oh, definitely. You know what?
Drunken Master.
Drunken
that-
master. Thank you.
That locks it in for me. That's exactly, I think, what this movie, for me, was missing. If Jackie Chan had been in that role, I think everything would have clicked into place so satisfyingly. Oh, man. Wow. That's a movie I'm going to see in heaven. That's a movie I want to see. So,
See, I also read that they had talked about doing a remake of this movie.
No, they're not talking about it. I was going to bring this up. Yeah, they're not talking about it. They, I think they are going to do it, and I think The Rock is actually in talks to play Jack Burton.
So what do you think about that?
I'm not happy. Not happy with it at all. I think things should be left alone. Obviously, had this conversation before that I don't think that things should be remade. I just don't think that. If you're going to do it, just make it a different story, call it something else. Just don't use that. You could do a similar story, buy the rights to it or whatever, just change the name. And then I think things would be that much easier. Like with the Ghostbusters thing that came out, right? People were up in arms that that it was going to be a new Ghostbusters that didn't have the original people and then they were all women or whatever, but that's a different story. But, had they just called that movie something else, like,
Right.
Chicks who bust ghosts or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
hey,
That's terrible.
chicks who bust ghosts. Hey, we come here, we stop ghosts.
Yeah, that would be.
Oh my God, we're totally Ghostbusters.
People wouldn't give a shit that movie was coming out because there was something different. But because they called it Ghostbusters, now everybody's on fire about it. the same thing with this Big Trouble in Little China. Don't call it that. Call it something else, and nobody will have a problem with it.
Oh, is this going to ruin your childhood?
I gotta tell you, Peter, you're talking me into the remake of Big Trouble in Little China. Having The Rock in that role with modern, choreographed, spectacular stunts. That's a movie I almost want to see. I would see it.
Where
The Rock is the clueless hero.
I'm gonna see it.
And that sounds like a lot of fun. You put that in the right. God, who would you get? Who are they talking about for Dennis Dunn's character, Wang Chi? Who are they talking about for Wang Chi?
That is a good question.
I have not seen anything about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about that either.
All right.
Maybe they should get The Rock to play that part and then just get Kurt Russell to play Jack Burton again.
Oh.
And he's still just stupid.
Oh.
Like he's still just making the wrong choices. He's still wearing those boots.
That
and the hair's
would
the
be
same.
a hell of a lot of fun. Oh man, that would be fun.
I wanted to say the end of this movie totally reminds me of Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, which part?
Where they're just they're so stupid at the end. Like they don't get on the bus with the bikini models because they're just too dumb. Like he has a chance to be with Kim Cattrall. She's totally beautiful and smart and amazing. And he's like, no, gets in his truck and leaves. And I'm all, you're so stupid.
That's right. What was the point of that? Why was he not?
I think because he's so stupid.
Because he's Jack Burton, and he doesn't have time for that. He's too bravado to fall in love or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
He's a love him and leave him type. That's at least that's what he tries to put out there, that he's the love and leave him, but he really isn't. That's the whole thing. Everything that puts out as this bravado, but he's not. He's not any of the things that he bills himself as. But he believes it, so he has to kind of try to live up to it.
Yeah.
So he leaves, and he's like, "Oh, aren't you going to give her a goodbye kiss or whatever?" And he's like, "Nah."
Yes.
Nah.
Aren't you going to get on the bus with all the bikini models?
Nah.
No.
So, is there anything else that we would like to say about Big Trouble in Little China?
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the song that plays over the credits?
Is it
Big Trouble in Little China?
It's quintessential 80s terrible made for this movie rock.
It's written by John Carpenter and performed by his band.
Yeah, of course.
Big Trouble in Little China.
That's
I'm convinced John Carpenter just hated all people who did music, so he just decided to do it all himself, because every movie is just his own music over and over.
Yeah, well, and he tours and plays his music with clips from his movies and stuff. He came here. He played in San Francisco around Halloween, I think, because I went to a screening of Christine and they were giving away tickets or something.
Who the hell is going to see John Carpenter's band?
People who super love John Carpenter, and he has lots of fans.
I guess
he's made a lot of awesome movies.
No, that would be great. But here, I would never go see Steven Spielberg's band. I would never.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's
well, here's the thing. It's not like John Carpenter is they're he has a bunch of pop hits or something.
Right.
He does all this music for his movies. So if you like the music from his movies,
right?
Okay,
I get it.
I admit I'd probably go see John Carpenter.
I would totally go.
I would probably go see him just because I do enjoy his music, his scores and movies. I mean, The Thing score is amazing. It's
everybody talks about the score now from Stranger Things, and it's basically just John Carpenter.
Right. All right.
A little bit.
You know what? I guess I'm just out of touch with this movie. I'm not in sync. I guess it's just, I will freely admit, put my stamp on it. This is on me. I am just, for some reason, I am fumbling through this one. I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. We all don't like good things.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Choke on that, Smith.
That's definitely true. A lot of us on this podcast don't like good things. You're correct, Peter. No. All right. Cool. Is there anything else? Because I have to admit, I stopped the movie as soon as Jack Burton, as soon as the monster popped up at the very end.
Yeah.
I hit stop and I did not listen to the
well,
musical stylings of John Carpenter.
maybe you
and his
should
rock
do a little Googling after this.
All right. Cool.
I'm sure it's on YouTube. You could go check it out after we're done here.
It's totally worth it. You should put it on your workout playlist.
There you go. Download it.
First, I should
download it to your iPod, Smith.
First, I should get a workout
put
playlist.
Put it on your Zune, Smith.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. All right. I guess I poked some sort of sore spot with you two. Sweet Christmas. Sorry that I talked so much shit about the musical genius of John Carpenter.
This was a good pick, Peter. This was fun.
Definitely. So, sorry, Peter. Did I?
No. I said me too.
Okay. Cool. All right. Sonia Mansfield.
Yes.
Peter Brown.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you guys would like to say?
No.
I'll just say, Big Trouble in Little China. And goodbye.
Bye. The Dorking Out Show is on Twitter at Dorking Out Show, where you can also find me at Jet Juergens and Sonia at The Sonia Show.
And you can read all about my random adventures at my blog, thesoniashow.com, and track the slow, creeping process of Chris's novel and his other hijinks at jetjuergens.com.
Yeah, you know what? Go right over there right now and see how much is going on jetjuergens.com. Anyway, it'll be fun. It'll be like a trip back to 2016. Anyway, you can find out more about the Dorking Out Show at dorkingoutshow.com, and while you're over there, you can support us by giving us a review on Apple Podcasts. Please, for the love of God, for some reason, Apple Podcasts holds our destiny in their hands, so go over there and give us a rating, please. Sorry.
We would do it for you. We have a handy link on our website. It'll whisk you right over there so you can gush your love all over us.
This is disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Why did you write it like
I think
this, Sonia?
you
I
wrote it
didn't
like
write
that.
it like this. I don't like this.
We would gush love all over you and your podcast.
Yeah, we would do that. Anyway, point
Gushing.
is, I think we might be re-recording this here in a moment.
Gushing.
Jesus. What kind of podcast are you turning this into?
One that people will listen to.
This has been a presentation of Rocket Spots Media.